So today we're going to take a look at the dangers in wildcat drilling. Now, wildcats, none of these, looking for a definition online, came across one. Wildcat drilling is defined as high-risk exploratory drilling. Now, it's drilling for oil and gas in an unproven basin or a sub-basin, so an area where there's been no historic production. There's another definition we're going to come back to, which actually, when you look it up on Google, it says or fully exploited areas which have been completely exhausted. Well, that's interesting. We'll come back on that. So where might we go wildcat drilling? Well, we could go in a desert, in a jungle, in a swamp, in shallow waters, in deep waters, in ultra deep waters. Now, in this map of Indonesia from SKK MyGas, we can see some 128 geological basins, and of these, 20 are productive, 27 have discoveries, 13 others have been explored, but that leaves some 68 basins that are as yet unexplored. These are areas where, for certain, you can undertake wildcat drilling. You know, I'm really struggling. I can't think of anywhere where we've exhausted all the potential for oil and gas. But, you know, if you have any thoughts or ideas, and perhaps it might be one of the very mature areas of, say, the lower 48 in the United States, or perhaps in Eastern Europe, into Russia. Maybe they're areas, but I'm really struggling. Put a comment below or send me an email. In wildcat drilling, there are lots and lots of challenges. One is the uncertainty. You don't really understand the geology. But in my opinion, the biggest is pressure. Now, to understand pressure, if you dive down in the swimming pool, you know by the time you get to the bottom of it, your ears are starting to feel the pressure of the water. You know, as you go scuba diving, as you go down deeper, you have to equalize that pressure and make sure that you don't pierce your eardrums by going up and down too quickly. And we all know about deep sea divers. You know, they've got to stop many times on the way up to make sure that they don't get the bends. And sometimes it goes badly wrong. Here, an example of a catastrophic implosion where just the sheer pressure of the water is actually just crushing the vessel, whether it be a submarine or whatever. If we have a look at this map here, we can see the Challenger Deep. It's in the western Pacific Ocean. It's at the southern end of the Mariana Trench, just a few hundred kilometers southwest of the United States island of Guam. The Challenger Deep is measured as being 10,984 meters deep. That's some 36,000 feet. That's pretty deep. If we have a look here, and we're going to spend a little bit of time trying to explain a pretty simple concept, but we're going to look at the pressure versus depth. We know that if you keep on going down deeper and deeper, the pressure goes up, and it follows a hydrostatic pressure gradient. We use these imperial units, PSI, pounds per square inch, for every foot. So every foot you go down, you get an extra 0.45 PSI. So down at 36,000 feet, we've got a pressure of some 16,200 psi. Now, to give you an idea, 14.8 psi, that's 1 atmosphere or 1 bar. If we've got 16,200, we've got over 1,000 bars or 1,000 atmospheres of pressure. Have you ever seen the experiment where you heat up a can until steam is coming up? You put a little bit of water in the bottom of an empty can, steam's coming up at the top of it, and then you quickly cool it down. And you're going to see in this short clip here from the Sci guys, a great channel. I subscribe to it, and I suggest if you want to know some basic science, they do some great experiments, some great videos. Here he is. He's taking his can that's steaming, turns it up, inverts it, puts it into water, and all of a sudden it crushes. Now imagine that, but 1,000 times more violent, the pressure differential being 1,000 times greater. That would be very, very significant. In drilling, well, we probably don't get down very often anywhere near those 36,000 feet. We do get down to, say, 10,000 feet. Yes, I think you can probably work this out. The pressure, 4,500 psi. If we then consider, before we get down there, at around about 8,000 feet, we encounter gas. Now, that means there's a gas column that is 2,000 feet high. Now, I'll explain this red line in just a second, but it's 2,000 feet, let's say. We know at the gas-water contact that the pressures are they're the same, they're equal. As we go up towards 8,000 feet, we're now following a much less dense gradient. Gas is lighter than liquid, than water, so it's going up at 0.08 psi per foot. The pressure at 8,000 foot, if we're just drilling or just seeing the effects of increased depth with water, is going to be 3,600 psi. If we start at 10,000 feet with 4,500 psi and we go up 2,000 feet at 0.08 psi per foot, then the resultant pressure at the top is some 4,340 psi. There it is shown on the graph. We're drilling along, everything's going smoothly at 0.45 psi per foot, and then all of a sudden we get a massive jump in pressure. The pressure is some 740 psi higher. Now that's 50 bars or 50 atmospheres different. It is a huge jump in pressure, and this is where we can get all sorts of problems with drilling in a basin, a new basin in particular, with things like blowouts. Now in this clip it's pretty low resolution and quite shaky, but you'll just see a sort of dark brown plume of oil starting to come up. There it goes, and it goes higher and higher, and obviously our cameraman had to take shelter. And then he took these shots here showing oil just shooting up into the air. This is a blowout when they've encountered anomalous pressures at depth. And also what can happen can be some catastrophic consequences of a blowout. That's one of the things that happens during the drilling of wildcats. You should know your reservoir pressures, but not just reservoir pressures. You should know your reservoir temperatures, your fluid compositions, your API gravities, your poroperm, your reservoir ages, your seismic, your stratigraphic infrastructure, source rock, trap, the list goes on and on. In fact, globally, you should know your TROVE. Thanks for watching. See you back on the channel before too long. Bye for now. Hey, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell if you want to be informed when we're doing our next video. Look forward to seeing you back. Bye for now.